Welcome back to Big Moto Gaming, guys. I'm your host, Big Moto, and joining me for the broadcast today is Lost. How you doing, Lost?
Going on.
Yeah.
Gotta love hotel internet.
Yeah, so, guys, Lost is on work vacation, if you would. No, not vacation. On work leave, if you
Work
would.
trip.
Work trip, there it
Work
is.
trip.
And, yeah, so if this gets a little buggy or anything like that, just blame it on the internet. we do this across country, so it is what it is. Lost, hey, it's been 2 weeks, and we haven't done our own individual D&D games where we been playing together, and
Yep.
I feel bad about that. Like I'm hungry. I'm hungry to get back at my paladin to try to destroy some skeletons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's not like we left on the cliffhanger.
Yeah, like staring down the like a first level BBEG, if you
Yep.
would, and we're stupid cliffhangers, and then we haven't been back to it in 2 weeks. So it's right, 2 weeks, 2 3.
Yeah, it's
2
been a
weeks.
couple weeks.
Oh, it's rough. It's rough. Lost, what have you been doing besides the game that we can't run?
So in my other game that I'm running, so doing the Dragon Heist. So as always, spoiler, feel free to fast forward if you need to. But my group has they were hired by Volo to go find his friend Floon, and they have unsuccessfully tracked him down. At this point, they are closing in though. They did find Rainier Neverember, one of Floon's friends, and have basically grouped him in to help him. So that will definitely assist them. Not that group needs really help with the rolls, unlike our game that we're in here.
Oh, that game.
But
The rolls, chat. The rolls.
it's ridiculous on yours. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on.
Is
But
the game you're playing, is that all virtual like ours?
Oh yeah,
It's
it's
virtual
all
too.
virtual.
It's working
Yep.
fine for you. All right, interesting.
Yeah. They just have better luck than you guys.
That's true.
But yeah, so they tracked down some leads and stuff like that to try to find Floon, and tracked him down to a Zentarum warehouse, where the Zentarum and oh my god, I can't think of the other faction right now.
Like, I only know the little bit that you've told me about Dragon Heist, so I can't even help you out.
Yeah, drawing a blank. I took a migraine pill a little bit ago, so I'll just blame that.
Hotels
but
and migraine pills. Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Yep. But yeah, they tracked him down. So they found a whole bunch of dead bodies. Ended up fighting some Kinniku, which is always fun, and ended up they're now down into the sewers and trying to find a basically like a thieves' hideout. Where hopefully they will get Floon.
Okay, all right. That sounds like fun. How long do your sessions normally last in your typical Saturday evening games?
So about 3 hours is what we've been doing.
Oh, okay.
So fairly short. But it's just kind of, I mean, it's one of those, like, we could go a little bit longer, but like right here's a really good stopping point. So it's like we generally say like 3 to 5, but they've been running at about 3 hours.
Okay, all right. Like, I'm trying to think. My Sunday games, I think, are about 6 hour games, give
Yeah.
or take, or from 10 to
Yeah.
almost 5. So wherever that is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but the game never starts at 10. I swear to goodness gracious.
Right. Yeah. We start at 3, but it's really like 3:30, 3:45. Everybody's BSing, talking about stuff like that, and then it's like, all right, guys, let's go and kick this off. So it's really about 2.5 hours of gameplay. But we have fun. Probably do some longer sessions eventually.
Yeah. I'm like that. I swear that I don't know of any other like game thing than tabletop RPGs where the game doesn't really actually start right away. There's always like an hour of BS ahead of time. Even back back in our high school days, I think there was always a BS. Even though we saw each other through the high school all day, the game still had a
Yep.
BS thing before we really got the gaming.
Yep. It's just how it goes.
Remember, chat. Dungeons and Dragons is very much a social game, and I love it for the social interactions, or the highs of that. Some people don't
Yep.
care for social interactions, but still like Dungeons and Dragons. Which you people, you're interesting characters, and I salute you for being on the D&D table and rolling some dice with us.
Yep.
Oh, so Lost. I got to play. Well, okay, so we normally do our boys' nights game, and we haven't been able to do that. And then we had Easter weekend ago, and I couldn't run any D&D games on that day. Yesterday was my first time getting back to playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and it was the first time in. Okay, I made the video on this the other day. It was the second time ever I've been in a game that it got completed that was not an adventure path. If that makes sense to you. Like adventure paths, like I feel like people like there's always like a rhythm and it's always going to be complete because at the end of the book. But this might be the second time ever we just reached the natural conclusion of the game. I don't know how often does that happen to you that's not an adventure path or module.
Never.
Never?
Like, I mean, realistically, never really. It's yeah, very, very rare, if anything.
Okay, interesting. I thought that was just on my end because I actually had a few comments that saying that they finish the campaigns often. I'm like, are these long stretch campaigns or are they just doing like one shots? I'm not exactly sure about that one.
You definitely can't include any type of a one shot as a,
Right.
any type of completion. But yeah, I more often than not have campaigns that just like life happens and it's like, well, we started this, half the group's changed out. Like, let's change systems, let's change genres.
Yep.
So it's like, well, that campaign is out to lunch.
I'm like, right now, of my current gaming group, we have one, maybe two actual games that ended on cliffhangers and will be repicked up at some point. But at the same time, I know that feeling. We haven't touched it in like 6 months. It might be just gone. Like out to lunch, it might be taking a nap and it's going somewhere else. I hate that feeling.
It's kind of like, I feel like when those happen, especially maybe not so much if you didn't have like another game that you were playing in, or maybe if it was just like maybe one other game that you had played since then. But it's like, okay, now I got to try to remember like all of the story that we did. Like, how was I playing this character? How was I playing this character? How was like the interactions?
Right. Yeah. That. And trying to
It's
find
like
your
picking
old
up
notes of it. Ooh.
right, or it's like picking up a video game that you haven't played in a long time, and you're like, I don't even remember how to do this anymore.
Like we have this running gag at my table. We have this one player who's one of his favorite games is like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, that kind of thing. He keeps telling me I need to play again. I'm like, I'm so far into the game, like I'm getting close to end game content, but I haven't touched it in almost a year. I would literally have to restart because I could not pick that game up and replay it again. I'd be like, and I lost all my souls over and over again.
Yep.
Oh, lordly. All right, but okay. Jet, we were able to, like I was saying, we got done with our like I said, the second ever game. It was 5th edition. We started off, if I understand it correctly, I missed session 1, so I started at session 2, and we were basically transporters of goods. Like that's how we started, and by the end of the entire campaign, we were marching army on top of a god's capital city. I don't know how we escalated this much in say maybe 4 months of gaming. Like it's escalated that much. I'm like, I don't even think a 2 year of campaign could escalate that fast. But yeah, we escalated. My character, okay, I got some complaints with 5th edition. I'm playing a Dragonborn sorcerer who, okay, something about 5th edition. They did not pack a lot of spells into the list, and so I only have the starter book, and then I picked up the Fizbean's Dragon Guide, and because I like dragons, so I just picked it up on a whim one day, and so I got a couple more spells out of that. I think they only added like 7 extra spells into the whole book, so I became a fireball sorcerer, like and I wasn't even trying to be, but everybody knew me as the guy who just cast fireball, and I just like I didn't want to be that guy. If that makes sense. I was like I didn't want that trope of that's all I'm gonna do is fireball, but that's all I could do. It was
lack of options.
I know there is a serious lack of options in 5th edition, or if you're just playing with the standard stuff, because that's all our table actually had is just your standard stuff, and the DM was making homebrew creatures, but so she had a lot of options, but to me as a player, I never go with homebrew anything. I don't know if I don't as a player I feel like there's too much capability of making OP, and I am not trying to be an OP player, so I don't tend to homebrew anything. I like my basic stuff because there's enough OP stuff that you could do, like cast fireball, and I think the way sorcerer works with the whole spell points and everything else, I could cast fireball like 15 times in a combat, something like that. It was getting up there. It was respectable, but. That's all I. But in our final battle, we were taking on every homebrew creature she ever made. We're fighting tooth and nail. Our one paladin was almost dead. Me and the paladin, we actually separated from the party, and because we could fly, and we're chasing down what we thought were the really big bads. Or the generals that we're thinking in our heads, and I incapacitated a griffin that was, or not griffin, kind of like a griffin that was taking the generals away. I hit it with an incapacitation spell. I can't pronounce it, and the thing dropped to its death. And
Nice.
So we took out the generals, and you can tell that she was not prepared for that at all. She even went with they teleport out of there. I'm like, counterspell. No, they don't. We are gonna beat these things to the bloody pulp, and we did. And yeah, that was something interesting. But at the end, okay, just in case any of the tabletop group is watching, I got confused at some point. We like this entire time we were taking on the big bad god, or I felt like it was a big bad god, and then at the very end of the campaign, we ended up siding with the big bad god because our buddy Butters was a double agent this entire time. Did not know that at all.
Checks.
Yeah, like lost. Yeah, he got you again.
Not surprised.
Not surprised.
Not surprised at all.
But yeah, for whatever reason, so he ended up becoming a double agent. And then he talks us into sparing the life of the god, if you would. Even though I'm pretty sure that god could just and we're dead. But it was, I got lost at some point. I don't know, between all the talking and whatnot, I'm like, is this morally gray, or are we good guys, or are we actually bad guys for siding with this god? It was really, I got lost. I don't know if my ADD kicked in or something like that. I was just like, what happened? I know I'm the fireball guy and I'm a little bit goofy, but what happened? Why are we not in war anymore? So, if my DM watches this, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what happened. But yeah, yeah. We rode off into the sunset. We saved the land that we were on. We even fast forward where we gained a couple more levels, and then I showed off that I became a full. I was Dragonborn, and I was able to polymorph myself into a full dragon. So that was kind of cool. And then we had what I lovingly call the Star Wars ending, where like everyone parties kind of thing. So what? Okay, Lost, of all the endings that you've had, have you had those super happy endings like that, or are they more? Hey, we're done.
I think it's been more like, hey, we're done.
Yeah, I'm like, I also feel that way. Like, especially with
Like,
Adventure Path, is oh, we're done, and
right,
like
and I
nobody's
think,
like super excited about that.
right, and yeah, I think the two campaigns that I'm currently running are going to be my last uh like pre-gens for a little while. I'm going to go
Mm,
back to my normal open world stuff.
there
I
we
think
go.
with yours or with ours that we're doing together, I think I might do a continuation.
Ooh,
So once we finish, well, my current plan for yours as well, um, because we're about to finish the Crypt of the Everflame, but then we're going to move into another campaign, and then um, I have some homebrew stuff, if you will, basically like a continuation for that.
awesome.
Um, so I think we'll go into that. So I think that'll be fun.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, Lost, we got some questions. We got some questions here. Um, so we were talking about okay, I made a YouTube video, a short one. I was talking about what classes should they add into D&D Fifth Edition that they have not made, and then or no, I was talking about if there's some subclasses that should be classes, and that got us talking about um the difference of systems of class-based systems and classless-based systems. And you're in the camp of classless, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what
Correct.
what do you think is the absolute strength of classless system?
Freedom to create your character however you want.
Okay, yep, I agree with that one. That was pretty good. Um,
But like I will caveat that though. So although I am a big fan of class lists, I do like structures of classes. So I'd rather have it to be like, yes, it's a class list. However, if you want to play X thing, this is our recommendation to play a fighter. This is our recommendation to play a wizard. Right. And it's like, oh, I like that, but like I think I want this feat or this edge or whatever it's going to be for that system. Be like, I'm going to swap this out because then I'm going to customize it. So I like here's a path you can take to create this.
okay,
Um, so
all right,
class, but it's still classless.
all right. In your opinion, what is the downside of classless?
Um,
Got him. Pardon me.
Short answer, I don't think there. Well, I don't really think there is a quote unquote downside other than um, if you're a big optimizer, you might not play optimized as well because you didn't think of something, right? So,
True.
but to me, I'm not a huge fan of fully optimized characters. So to me, that's not really a
Right.
downside because I'd rather people pick things for story and character growth than, well, like this would really fit my character well, but this is like gonna help me be more OP. So I'm just gonna take that because
Yeah, like
it's better for.
I'm like I always go flavor over uh
Hmm.
that, but as that's me. And we've all experienced the OP gamer, so we
Oh
we know those people.
yeah.
Um, So I'm on the camp of I like classes. Class. One of the best things I think of a class is I have structure, and I know for a fact that my character can't do everything, so it makes me want to work with my party more. That is what I think is the strength of class, because um, I need the rogue to go pick a lock if I'm the barbarian. If that makes
Mm.
sense. Obviously, the downsides of having the class system is um, you can't do everything, and if someone um, might be a specialized in something and fails to show up to a session, you, you SOL if the DM was planning on a character shining moment where the rogue really needs to break us out of a jail. If the rogue's not there, like that.
Yeah, I could actually go with that. Can be more of a downside of the classless, actually, where you're talking about like when you have a classless system, you don't get a lot of experts in a specific thing. You have more generalists,
Yep.
so that could be a downside.
Yeah.
Um,
What?
because you're like, oh, I could do this as well, so let me take that, and it's like, well, you're not advancing your role in the party, if you will.
Yep. Now the game that you play the most as classless is Savage Worlds, correct?
Correct.
Correct. And the game that I have played that's classless the most is Vampire the Masquerade, and uh, something I've noticed in Vampire the Masquerade, and I don't know if it happens in Savage Worlds, but we've had a couple people at the table. They scatter into skills, and don't focus on optimizing, or optimizing is not the right thing, because that sounds like you're being a power gamer, but at the same time, I call it optimizing because, like, don't you want to be like good at something like
Right.
good? And I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're
Do you
they're
see
not
that?
focusing on their class skills, essentially, is what you're saying. Like,
In a way,
or
yeah.
they're not focusing on their role. Um, yeah, I mean, to an extent a little bit, but the beauty about like for Savage Worlds is that if you're not skilled in it, there's a skill called unskilled, and it's called D4 minus 2. So if you're not skilled in that skill, you just
Interesting.
roll at a penalty of minus 2.
Oh, that's simple.
So
But and
it's very simple.
there's exploding dice, so you could do
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then could you explain to the viewers at home what exploding dice is? Maybe they might not
Oh
know.
yeah. So exploding dice. So how Savage Worlds works is, let's say you're rolling your skill, right? And so Savage Worlds isn't like D&D. Instead of having like a stat number, you have a stat or a skill dice associated with it, right? So you raise your skill level by increasing the die that you roll. But in Savage Worlds, everybody's a wild card. So for every time you roll a dice, you end up rolling 2 dice every time you roll. A d6, because that's considered your wild die, and then whatever you're trying to roll. So if you're rolling a stat or a skill, you're gonna have a dice associated with it. So if you have like a
D8.
D8 in Notice, which is Savage Worlds Perception, you would roll that D8, and you'd also roll a D6, and then you choose whichever one's the higher. Target number is generally a 4, is what you're trying to roll, right? So the higher the die that you're rolling, the better the odds that you will get a success. Now there's penalties and stuff that you'll get, right? So you might be rolling at a -2, -4, -6, depending on how difficult something is. But if you roll the max on any die, you roll that die again and you add them until you stop rolling the max. So if you roll an 8, then you'd roll an 8 again. If you got an 8 and you would roll again. If you got like a 1, that'd be a 17 total, right? Because 8, 8, and 1, 17. And then you'd be like, oh, I got a 17. Well, target was a 4, so you did exceptionally well at this check.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I do like that system. I think I've heard of another system like that called Serenity. Is based off
hmm
the Firefly or the TV show Firefly with Nathan Fillion. They made a RPG 20 years ago about it, and it has a very similar. The skills and everything else is a like D4, D6, D8,
Yep.
Butters actually hates that, or at least Serenity. He hated that because I don't think there was exploding dice in there. But
Oh,
um, so he built a character to be the pilot, the main guy to pilot, and he kept like rolling a 1 or a 2, and like just like blaster guy would be able to pilot better than the actual pilot because where he
yeah.
D12 he couldn't get like above a 1 or 2. And he's like, this is dumb. I'm like, that's one thing I like about class systems is normally you get a whole bunch of adding proficiencies, and like I said, I'm basing this off Vampire the Masquerade. You don't have a whole lot of what do you call it? You have a lot of dice you can add to it, but there's no way to make it so you can was it not fail? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a dumb way to say it,
but I mean that's just kind of that's sometimes that's just how the dice roll, you know?
Right.
Because you could have a plus 15 in stealth, right? And you roll that 2 and you got a 17, and that level 1 guard with a +0 on their perception rolled a 19, and guess what?
Yep.
You just got spotted.
Yep.
It happens.
It happens. I don't know. There's it's those little things on the class list system that bug me compared to class systems. But in general, the fact that we're playing RPGs, that's all that matters to me. Like I won't turn down a game if that makes sense. Because I have not met a system that I'm just gonna go nope. I can't think of a system where but I'm also one of those guys who are haven't really been out and about in the tabletop RPG world. I've been, or we could say, sheltered. So I only know 3rd edition, a little tiny bit of 4th edition, Pathfinder 1 and 2, Vampire and Werewolf, and that one session.
A little bit of Palladium.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a little bit of Palladium. Oh my
Savage
goodness gracious. I don't think I've played that in 20 years. Oh my goodness gracious.
Last time was in my grandma's basement.
Yep. Glitter Boys. Boom! Let's nuke this place. Oh, that was good times. Oh my goodness, that was good times. Actually, just clearing off my my D&D books because I bought some new ones for my birthday, and I actually had to take the Palladium books off the shelf and put them on a different shelf. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't use you.
Yep, that's how that works.
I know I'm going to use all these.
Yep.
Man, that was a weird system. D100 system for anyone who does not know about the Palladium.
Only for skills, though.
Yeah, only for skills.
Only for skills. Combat was still D20.
And it was reactive combat. So
yeah,
for everyone, like you know how everybody we roll an attack and we're trying to meet the AC of a creature. Well, instead of armor plus a 10 for the AC, it is armor plus a D20. So you guys are dueling each other, and there's a lot more dice rolls.
Yep. Opposed rolls.
Opposed rolls. That's the term. And I will admit that is a very fun system. The only problem I have with that one is in a giant game, that takes a long time for everybody to get rolling. There's a lot of pressure on the DM to, okay, gotta keep rolling here. Let's just.
Yep.
Can't just say, yep, you hit and go, but. All right. Loss. I found a list of player types that are out there, and
very curious about this.
And I just wonder what our opinions on these type of players are. And let's see. Just I'm gonna shoot out I think the most famous one. And now, if you have this gamer that is in your table or at your table, okay.
Are you gonna go with Rules Lawyer as the first one?
No, Rules Lawyer is not on. Not on. Or Rules Lawyer is in this category called the winner, because they will try to win.
Okay.
So okay, we'll start
Okay.
with that one. The winner that will win at any cost. What do you think? They don't care. They don't care about their character or anything else. They themselves need to win. So Lost, you need to win, not your character of Bones. That's
Uh, I. Ooh, I don't think I would enjoy them being at my table.
yeah. I'm like I've met a couple of those people that is and I'm just like, oh my goodness gracious, that is downright terrible to have that kind of
Yeah, I don't.
self-centeredness.
Yeah, I don't mind the rules lawyers so much. Sometimes it's nice as long as they're not the type of rules lawyer that doesn't understand that I bend and break the rules depending on story as I see fit. And
As long as you
uh,
explain that in session zero, there shouldn't be a problem
right,
because then at that point they'll know if they should walk away if that's not the type of game they want to be in my
yeah,
opinion.
yep. So, it's just those like I'm not gonna sit here and argue, or it's like, a lot of times like it's like, oh, I don't know the rule for this. I'm gonna make this call. If somebody wants to look that up, it's like, all right, we made that call this time. It might come around on the next turn. It's like, oh yeah, this is what we found out. Oh yeah, that call was completely wrong. My
Yep.
bad. Well, we're not retconning it because it worked out in your guys' favor. Or not,
Right.
that's what we're gonna go from now on though.
Yep. I'm like that. That's happened to me plenty of times. All right. What I was gonna go with the most famous one is the murder hobo. What do you think of those where they just go out to kill everything and they're
So I just read a short story on those. It was one of those, am I the a-hole, right?
ooh
And it was on the DMs. This lady was, I think it was a female DM, but she was asking if she was the a-hole because um, the group was contracted to find a bunch of children, and the children were disguised or polymorphed or something into kobolds, right? And
okay.
the party seen them and just rushed in and murdered them all. And then they found out that it was the kids that they were supposed to rescue. And she had said that like one of her players just got up and left the game because he was very upset and distraught, like on an emotional, personal level in real life, that they just killed a bunch of kids. And so when I say like I enjoy the murder hobos, but I also enjoy it because then it's like, oh, how is this going to have some long-lasting effects?
Yeah, I'm like, I actually like
Eventually,
the murder hobo because of that same
yep,
reason.
eventually, you might get a group of adventurers to come after you because you're a murder hobo, and they've been hired to assassinate you, and they're probably gonna be higher level than you.
So like, yeah,
You know,
there's a wanted quest for the player. Like that's how you keep the
right?
story or the world alive.
Right. And depending on the inter-party conflict, like imagine the surprise of the paladin's uh face when he sees his wanted poster for murder of somebody in a previous town, and he's like, what is going on? Like, what? I didn't murder anybody. Oh, but you were a
but
party to it.
but you did. You're an accomplice.
Exactly. So like I but yes, murder hobos, you
I'm like,
should definitely think before you just start swinging.
I
That's another reason
I
I
have no
liked
problem with
Rifts,
murder hobos. What?
because that's another reason I liked Rifts so much, is because it was like playing with all the D&D, right? D&D is very much a kick down the door, take on the monster. In Rifts, it's all right, let's spend 2 sessions planning this combat. Because if we
Yeah,
don't, we're gonna get wiped out.
that's a good point. Yeah, we actually had to come up with a whole bunch of ideas because lots of things could go wrong. So much could go
Well, yeah,
wrong.
because right, and it made you think though, because you might not be able to damage the thing you're trying to capture. because it might be a mega damage creature
That's
and
what
you
I'm
don't
like.
have mega damage weaponry.
I'm like,
And you had to come up with a way to capture it. So you're like, oh, well, let's get it tied up. Let's get some sleeping gas. Let's get XYZ things to, right? It made you think of combat, not just like, oh, I need to go and attack it. It's like, hey, let's ambush it with this sleeping gas. And then you're going to come in from over here and like, you know what I mean?
yep. I forgot about the was it standard damage and mega damage? Is it standard?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or SD or something like that. And
SDC, MDC.
that was what it was. I forgot about that. Yeah, because if you could have been the biggest bad thing, you could have destroyed another combat ago, and then all of a sudden you came up against the first time you took on a mega damage thing. You're like,
Yep.
oh, I have overestimated my capabilities here.
Yep.
Okay, murder hobo done. Okay, another one is the my precious character player. They play their favorite character, and so God help me if my favorite precious character gets injured or disfigured. What do you think of those kind of people that are like that is my precious character? Oh,
Don't play in my game.
don't
Things happen. I use a lot of random tables for stuff like that, and if your character gets a critical hit against them and the card says you lost your arm, well,
yep.
guess you lost your arm. You know. Now, I don't. I At that point, that's where a lot of like homebrew stuff comes in for like 5e and just D&D in general, because then it's like, oh, you've lost your arm. Cool. Well, we're going to be able to, one of the next towns, or if you're in a dungeon where it's not really applicable, I'm probably at some point going to like have some clockwork mechanism that's available, or somebody's going to be able to basically like grant you some type of a magical arm. Is it going to give you any additional bonuses or whatsoever? No. But will it negate the fact that you lost your arm? Yes. So like I will be a benevolent GM in those respects. But you're going to lose your arm. You're going to lose an eye. You might straight out die. It happens.
Yeah, like you might lose that character. I do know. I can't think of as a DM if I've ever actually experienced oh my precious thing where they could not stand the thought of their character being hurt or anything like that. I can't think if I've ever actually played with that player.
Yeah, not that. I haven't had anybody that bad. The worst I've ever had is where like somebody would straight up got real upset that their character like lost a finger or lost like basically got like a permanent scar type thing, right? Has literally no impact on the game whatsoever. It's just now they have a scar that's permanent, and they were highly upset over it. I was
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry. Like, just because you're upset doesn't mean I'm gonna change it.
right. I know our buddy Butters ran a game. What's it called? There's a Pathfinder game. Uh, at Sandy Point. What the frick is? Oh, Rise of the Rune Lords. And in there, I was playing my favorite character, Modo. So I made this whole channel after him, and he got horribly disfigured in that thing, like horribly disfigured. And I actually at one point I was like, oh, not Modo. Why did it have to be Modo that got horribly disfigured? But I'm pretty sure it was like the next room over. Modo got killed, so it didn't matter.
Didn't last long.
Yeah, yeah. I think Kenosha was the only one who survived the whole thing. Like, and she ran away, and then we actually called it quits because like we didn't have time to make another character. And Butters was saying, "Oh my goodness gracious, this is a little too rough for you guys." And we're like, "Yeah, we noticed." Okay. Now, what do you think of? There's a player type called the Escapist. So they're only there to get away from everything else around the world and they're not really invested in anything. They're just they're there to be there kind of person.
So, or is that? I'm trying to understand it. That one, I guess. Is that the one that like they are there physically at your table, but they're not really invested in anything,
Not
and you have
invested
to
in
kind of
anything.
prompt them
Correct.
for. I think that is my number one. Like, I don't like those players. Now, everybody has those days where they're distracted and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I totally get that. But like the player, like I would much rather if you like at that point, you might as well. I would, you know what? This is how I'd much rather you do, right? If you're that type of player, right, and you enjoy because you probably just enjoy watching and listening at that point, right? Like
Yeah, that's
you
a
don't
lot more
really like
people do that.
playing, right? Talk to your GM or talk to a GM and be like, hey, like I really enjoy watching and stuff like that. Do you mind if I watch? And if you want, ask them if on one of the next encounters, if you can be the monster,
Yeah,
right?
that would be
I would totally be down with that. Like I've had players,
please.
I've had people watch, right? Because I used to do a lot of gaming at game stores, right? I'd run open tables and stuff like that. And I'd have people that were kind of watching and they're like, I'm kind of interested. I was like, well, I'll tell you what, they're getting ready to fight this monster. Do you want to be the monster and attack the players? And a lot of them are like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah, man. Here, go ahead. Have fun. It's all you. Because guess what? When they kill a player, I'm like, not my fault. I didn't target you.
Oh, that's I never thought of that.
Right?
It's PvP,
So,
but not PvP.
right. So, if you're that type of player, like I said, if you just like hanging around and watching, because I'll tell you, for me, it gets really frustrating when it's like, hey, like, and again, right, if it's your first time and you're trying, right, we get it. I understand.
Oh yeah.
I have so much more patience, right? So don't take this as like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to be that player, right? That player is more of the person that's there. They're not paying attention at all. They don't they ask like, oh, what should I roll? What should I do? And because they're not invested, they're not trying
Yeah,
is the
they're not
best way I
trying.
can describe it, right? If because I've had people are like, all right, do I roll the D20 for this again? Right? It's first, second, third session. It's like, oh yeah, yep, D20, and then remember on your character sheet, and it's like, oh yep, 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 yep. But yeah, there is a difference, and I just want to make sure I clearly state there's a difference between I'm new and I don't know what I'm doing, vice I'm only here because my
Significant
girlfriend,
other.
boyfriend,
Yep.
friend is here. They dragged me along, and I'm only here. I'm only playing because I'm forced to be here. Just don't play. Just sit there, watch, ask questions, be the monster. Kill
Yep.
your friend that made you sit there and do something you didn't want to do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. This is not part of the questionnaire, but I did bring it up, or you talking made me think of this. At what stage do you believe a person is no longer a newbie to
Ooh.
like just D&D or tabletop RPGs? Because I don't know if there's an exact time frame. Like after a year, you're done. I think it's like so many sessions. It needs to be, or not even sessions. They might even be like different campaigns, and then they're not considered new. I don't.
I don't know. I think everybody's different, right? Because
Right.
um because then it would be the question, right? Is it just to role playing or is it to a noob to that system, right? Because like I feel like I at this point, because I've played so many different types of games that I have a good foundational knowledge for most systems, and the systems that I don't have never played, I can pull pieces from the other systems that correlate, and within 2 sessions I would consider myself like, oh, okay, I can play
You
this
understand it. Yep.
on my own. So I would say you are no longer a a noob when you can create your character by yourself and run that character without assistance.
That's that.
That
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 makes total sense. Yep. I agree with that one.
That, yep. So that would be my thoughts on that. Or maybe you can run like, a couple characters without assistance type thing, right? So like, but yeah, I would say you have to be able to create your character without assistance and be able to run it without assistance.
Yeah, like I remember like when we first started playing D&D back in the day, like I felt like after few like in the first year I felt like I was no longer a noob, but I knew what I was doing, I knew how to play my character and whatnot. And then it wasn't for like several years, maybe 5 years later, did I finally make my ever first wizard. And then I'm like, oh, I feel like a noob all over again. I don't understand this. This is just all foreign to me because at that point I would make martial characters, tanks,
Yep.
healers, like that all came. But looking at a spell
You're
list and
but you're a
pre-prepared,
spellcaster noob,
yep, yeah, like that.
you know?
That was rough. That took. I
Yep.
thank goodness I had Butters next to me. I'm like, how do I do this part again? Okay, all right, magic missile.
Yep.
that kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with noobs or even new to like I don't know how many times the we call it the Vampire the Masquerade. I get so lost with that system. I'm just like I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but I'm rolling dice and everybody's excited to be here. But
Yep.
I think that's one of those things where me as a player or me as a person, take that back, me as a person doesn't quite enjoy modern fantasy over medieval fantasy. My favorite thing is medieval fantasy. Future and current fantasy, not my jam. And I think that the ADD part of me kicks in, and I'm just like, this isn't my focus. So I'm just,
Right.
it's hard for me that to stick in my head, in my opinion. All right, we were just talking about the noobs and whatnot, and people who are new at role playing. But then there is the actor who it goes out of their way to be like like a theater player. What do you think of those players? They're there more for the role play of their character than actual we call it stats
Role
or
play?
game. Yeah, they're yeah, without the role playing. Yep, I like it.
ROLE, not ROLL.
Yep.
I think it is personality based on that, right? So I've had people where they've done it and it's brought a lot of entertainment and fun to the table. And I have other people that attempted to do it and it just kind of came across as obnoxious.
Yes.
So
good point.
I would say it kind of depends on who you are and how you do it. You know, I think it's fun. I think if you enjoy it, but I think if you have a lot of players that are doing that, or even if you're that player that does it, that can be intimidating to new players that are looking to join, and they might be like, I'm not comfortable doing that, so maybe this isn't for me. So just be mindful, if you see people kind of watching, just be mindful that people are watching and they might be interested, and extend that olive branch to them. And if you see them look like they get discouraged, just let them know oh, not required in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Let's see. I haven't. Okay, on my current gaming group that I'm playing with, majority, if not all of them, are really good. When I put them in the category of actor, where they're really good at role play. I'm actually flabbergasted on how good these guys are at role play. I'm like, goodness gracious, where have you been all my life? So I actually like actors, but I've had a few actors in the past that are like, man, that just rubbed me the wrong way. And that could be because another character type called the Joker, who will try their best to make every situation some sort of funny joke or something like that. Keep it in character, be the clown, and not allow we call it the seriousness of a game. They're the clown. What do you think of the Joker type of player. I
Mm.
like jokers are hit and miss with me. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times it can be a miss. I want to say it's more of a
Yeah.
60-40 on that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think a lot of times it can be a distraction at the table too.
Yep. Oh, good point.
So it yeah, I'm trying to think, and it's like time and a place, I guess is the best way I can describe it, and if that is your character's, like if it's a constant and it's like is your character's like personality type thing, like it can definitely get worked in and not be an issue. But if it's if it's I think it comes down to if it's in-game jokes or out of game jokes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think if it's worked in well with in-game, then it'd probably be fine. If it's, more taken as it's like out of character, like stuff that you're saying, then probably distraction and
Yeah.
try to work on that.
I have we've discussed this a few times of ADHD we have distractions at a table take me out of the session and um and like okay I don't mind a joke here and there because I look back at our previous things and we kind of sound like we can't handle a joke kind of thing. I'm like no there's jokes, there's fun to be had, all that stuff. There's like some people have joke characters and they're fun to be with, and but don't take it out of the story. Like I don't know, joke characters
Right.
can ruin like the sensitive parts, if that
Yep.
makes sense.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, distractions with ADHD are just a killer for me. They can remove me from the session that I'm like invested in, and then there's that joke, and then now my attention's over here, and then I'll go back to the DM, and now I'm sorry, I'm just sitting at the table now. And
Yep.
that has happened to me enough times, even though I'm pretty sure I have been the Joker enough times, where I don't know, I'm funny. Get it, guys? I'm funny, right? Please be funny. All right. We talked about the Joker, and now, which kind of goes into the next one, is a social light. So they are only there for the social interaction, kind of like the escapists, but they want to talk throughout the game and talk about like outside world things. Like they're there to hang out with their buddies and talk and bullshit. And like for certain games, I personally think that's okay if that's the whole, like I call them beer and peanut games. Where nothing's very serious. Like the socialite's fine there, but if you're in a serious game that is going to last a long time, those kind of
Right.
people are just a distraction. And
Yep.
what do you think of that?
Fine. I think it'd be fine on like a one shot where you're just kind of there. You're, it's not a serious game. It's like I said, it's a one shot. You're gonna just there to kind of BS, hang out, have a good time. You know, um, that's the case for all sessions, right? I like to hang out and have a good
Yeah.
time with all sessions. But you know what I mean? There's difference between, we've been, it's the culmination of a 2-year campaign. We're in the last couple of sessions and everybody's getting distracted talking about
The solar
their
eclipse.
weekend plans or the solar eclipse or, this, that, and the other. And it's like, hey guys, like, let's focus on the game, right? So it can definitely be a distraction. But like you said, I think you said it well, right? If it's like if that's the like how that campaign's going to go or that game session is, then it can be fine. But overall, for most campaigns, I think it's a distraction.
Yep. And yeah, distractions. Just some distractions can be a good thing. There can be like a interesting thing that happens from a distraction, but 90% of the time, a distraction's sometimes
Bad.
pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Do I have any segue to the next one? Probably not. All right. The next one is called the
Segway.
yes, segue for a segue. This one's called the Explorer. So their whole personality type is to go, hey, what's that mountain range over there? I'm gonna go explore it. And instead of following the game, they wanted to explore everything that you built in the game. What do you think of those kind of players? They're
I
just
feel
there
like
to
this
explore.
list is making me feel like a really like bad person. I'm like, I don't like them. I don't like those. I don't like those at my table. I feel like I don't like people at my table. Thanks. No. So if so those types of players are great when I run my open world campaigns, right?
Right. Yes.
And that's the type of player I want when I run an open world campaign, to where it's literally like when I run an open world campaign, I have a couple of notes on some world stuff that's going to happen, or could happen, I should say, depending on what you guys decide to do. Half the time, I throw all that crap out and I come up with stuff on the fly because of a side comment, because of XYZ thing that kind of just naturally progressed into the world, right? Like I am writing the adventure as you're playing it. And I I think, I have gotten out of that. That used to be my sole, like I used to hate pre-written campaigns. And
Yes.
like I was like, I'll never run them, right? And that's like all I've exclusively ran lately is pre-written, and I haven't run any open world campaign in years. And I think part of that is because I didn't have, when I would run an open world campaign, I didn't have those types of players that we just talked about, right? The explorer. And I had the people that were just so like module driven, to where it's like, hey, we're just gonna, I'm gonna make a simple, you guys are gonna know each other, you're gonna be at the bar, what are you guys gonna do? And they're like, what do you mean, what am I gonna do? And it's like, what do you mean, what are
Yeah.
you
What do
gonna do?
you mean? What do you mean?
Like, what do you want to do? And so those are the types of players that I want there. Now, if we sit down and I say, hey, we're gonna run this campaign XYZ, right? We're gonna run, I'm trying to think of a good one, right? We'll just say Crypt of the Everflame, because that's what we're
Currently
culminating and
playing.
finishing
Yep.
up, right? And I give you the start off, and you're like, all right, good. Well, I want to go to the next town instead. It's like, no. What do you
Don't
mean?
don't be a dink.
No.
Don't be a dink.
Right. So, um, yeah, like it's fine if you're still progressing the story, or if there's no story and you're trying to come up with one.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. I'm like, yeah, I have the same thing. I don't like explorers when I have built a dungeon and they're like, nope, I'm gonna go. What's that woods over there? Why? Did you just waste all my time? I built this dungeon and you don't want to touch the dungeon at all. Thanks. Thanks for all the clues. Point at the dungeon. Go to the dungeon. Nope, nope. What's that over there?
Yep.
But yeah, I'm also that second the same thing with you on when I rewatch our things. I'm like, oh, are we really jaded people, or do we?
Yeah, I was like, man, I feel like I'm always like, oh, don't be that player, don't be this player, don't do that. Oh, I hate those types of players. I'm like, man, like,
Do I just come up with the questions that poke issues? Because you know when you're a good player. Like people are like they're excited to play with you. They can't wait. They like you're the number one person they call like, oh, I have a new campaign started up. You're the guy. You know when you're the
right?
good player, and
Yeah,
some of these things, and there's good qualities in all the things here, except maybe the escapist. I'd say that one's probably the most irritating one. But like all the other ones, um, yeah, there's good qualities in them. Just don't
right.
be extremist. I guess
Yep. Or like, cause the escapist was the one that's just there
just
and
there.
talking about out of world stuff, or was that the
Nope, that's the
which one was that?
socialite.
Oh yeah, the
The
socialite.
escapist is just
Or
there
the
because they didn't have a babysitter kind of
got
thing.
dragged along in there. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And those players aren't actually bad if it's like they're just in town for the week, they wanted to play, roll some dice. cool, whatever, bring them along, right?
Right.
Caveat that with them. But the socialite, get all that out in the beginning before we start rolling dice.
Yeah, that's that half an hour ahead of time.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
You
I
gotta
feel
get
like
that
that's
socialite
me.
out.
I end up doing that crap. Whenever I play in a game, I'm always like, oh yeah, start talking about this and that and the other, and then it's like, all right, we gotta start. And it's like, okay, I gotta refocus now
Yep.
onto the game.
I'm like, I'm so much of a role player now, especially with my my game at the table, that as soon as like it's time to play, I'm like, I actually have to shut off everybody else and I gotta get into character. And so I feel like I'm probably of all these types that we've gone through so far, I feel like I might be the actor the most.
Okay.
And we still got two more to go. And talking about
Yep.
the different things is the next one is called the storyteller, and that's the player that tries to combine everybody's backstories or works everybody like he needs to meld everything into one big story, and somehow this character knew his backstory of he's a prince from over there, but you know they can really meld something together that the DM was not meant for like to play. So they just want to meld everything to go together. That's what the storytellers considered. What do you think of that player?
Why?
Like it's just extra effort, right?
Right. Yeah. So, that's not bad, right? The background thing, like where they're trying to meld everything together, like start from session one. Like, hey, congratulations, we met. Now let's build our story together.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind the couple of characters that know each other, or if the party decides as a whole, like, hey, we all want to know each other, whatever, or if the campaign's set up to where you all know each other. But if not, like, why?
Yeah, like when I was reading this list and get to the storyteller, I was like, I've never experienced that particular one. I feel like
Well, I have. I've had it. I think I've only had it once.
oh, okay. I'm like I just like in my head. I'm like that's so much extra work. I don't know who would do that. And you've actually experienced that wants to blend everything.
Yep, I've had that character that come like session one, and they're like, here's my whole backstory, and it's like, wait, oh, you talked to everybody about their backstories, and you've generated a whole different backstory
Oh,
that like
that
and technically like, and then you added a bunch of stuff, so then it's like, well, they didn't add that, so guess what? That just took that out of their hands, like for their backstory, because you just covered that. So, like, just know that if you do that, you can take the creative freedoms that they have for their characters, and you can what's the word I'm looking for?
take away player agency, basically.
Yeah, so
for their own
you might force
play.
their character to have something. So
Right. Yeah. I'm like, now that you said it that way, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense with why this particular one could be a problem thing. Is like, oh, I didn't even think of you could literally take away players' agency or even DM agency because they were that was a good backstory. I can pluck this thing in, make a BBG, or nope, it's in this paragraph here, and then it's kind of focusing that it's on one person. I feel like that could happen.
yeah, I think I might start doing where it's like one paragraph, 3 sentences or less for your backstory. That's what you're limited on.
Like, well, we're not dated. We're just old. We're just old. We have been doing this game for 25 years. Everybody watching at home, we have been around the world a few times. Actually, Lost has literally been around the world a few times.
Yep.
All right, our last one on the list, and I think it could be the second most famous, or is the most famous probably for that is anyone who's ever played is the power gamer. They will do their best to optimize their character to the extreme. That's what they enjoy is power gaming. I personally have no problem with a power gamer. But I will caveat that is If the power gamer ruins the fun for everybody else at the table, then I don't like them.
Yeah,
Because
I'll agree with that.
how often do you run into a power gamer?
All the time.
All the time? Okay.
Yep, all the time. It's like, it. I am not. I am definitely polar opposite when it comes to a power gamer, but it's weird though because like I feel like I'm like, oh, power gamer. Like I am. I have the. I'll say the mindset because that's not the right term, but it's like I have the mindset of a power gamer, but my choices of character creation and choices for character like progression are the complete opposite for a power gamer. But I just have found over the years when I do off the wall crazy stuff for my character, the dice tend to like it, so they allow it.
There you go. There you go.
So, yeah. So like, I don't mind the power gamers. Like, if you're having fun, cool. But like you said, if it's if you are ruining or if you're making the game less fun for other people, right? Because if you have that power gamer that has optimized their character and you have 6 actions that you can do and your turn takes 5 minutes, but you're constantly doing stuff, not looking up things. And then the next turn, the guy's like, I make my attack, I missed. Next turn. Right? A lot of times it's like, understand how you got so many actions. Like, why is your turn so much longer than mine?
Yep.
So, and then, right, also with power gamers, right now as a GM, you have to look at balancing that encounter. So,
Oh
guess
my
what?
goodness gracious.
Right? So, if you have a table of 4 players and 1 or 2 of them are maximized, right? Optimized and maximized, and 2 players are severely not. That gets really dangerous to the party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now I have to increase the power level of these monsters,
To compensate.
and it might one shot those 2 players. And then nobody has fun necessarily, right? When their players are down, right? And bleeding out. And especially in my games when I do dynamic initiative and oh, you're going last this turn. Oh, you're going first the next turn. You failed 2. And it was like, they only have 1 left. Well, we have to go this turn or they might die.
Yep.
Or you're like, oh, it's the first round. It's not a big deal. And then it's like, oh, they failed. And it's like, oh, well, this is the second one. We probably should get it there, right? So, yeah, as long as you don't mess with the other players having fun.
Like of all the lists of players, to me, if a power gamer the most I guess I'm gonna go with childish or like they lose all their fun is if you accidentally break their power build because for example, my character's a fireball thing, and then you threw in a creature that was immune to fire, and if I was if I was 100% optimized and I was the big bad or doing that kind of stuff, like I was the number 1 DPS of the party, and that's all I cared about was power gaming, and then there was something immune to it. I've never seen someone more pouty than the person when the power gamer gets broken. I don't know if there's several. I have met several people when their power gamer stops being able to be a power game, how pouty they get. And
Yep, I would agree with that.
It's just like, what? I know that's the whole reason they're there for the game is they wanted to optimize their build, everything else, but I can't, as a DM, like, every once in a while, I'm going to throw in the Iron Golem, if you would, that reflects magic back or something like that. Like, this is somebody else's. Like, this makes sense for the story. I'm working on my story. And they were like, you just did that to screw with me. I'm like, not normally. I just, yeah. All right, that is the 10 players, a list of 10 players that I found on the internet. Yeah. I feel like the power gamer and the winner can be kind of similar.
Yeah.
Or a lot of these are can be similar, but or even like a subdivision, subclass, if you would, subclass of other ones. But of the 10 that are listed, Lost, what do you think is your play style? You as a player.
Um. Ooh. I was thinking that because I figured you were gonna ask,
You know,
and
you know it.
I honestly feel like I relate probably the most to the socialist, to be perfectly honest.
Okay,
Where it's
that's
like, oh,
fair.
you just like BSing with the other players and stuff like that. It's just one of those I find myself having to like, oh nope, we're playing, and then, but I think it comes out more when there's like a lull in the game, and it's like a time filler more so than anything, where it's like, oh, hey, since we're waiting, what about this? What about that?
Yeah,
And it's like,
that happens a lot in my games. Is okay? There's DM needs to look up something. Okay, now it's time for, and that's when the socialites will come
yep,
together. Well, look at this
yep,
cool meme I found on my phone, or this, that,
yeah,
or that thing. I'm like, of all the things, I think the actor makes the most sense with me, or I have been in the past that little bit of a murder hobo. Like, if I'm getting to the point where I don't 100% enjoy the game or anything like that, I revert to a murder hobo. I will. So murder hobo is my worst thing as a player because I'm like I've checked out of the game, more or
right,
less. I've checked out, and that's happened to me in the past. I'm not ashamed, but I've done it in the past. Like people do it when they check out. They don't care about the game no more. Well, now I'm like, yeah. Who cares? Let's kill that thing. Boom, fireball.
right,
But I think at my best, I am an actor player because I really get into the role play more than anything. And the power gamer, I rarely ever do that. I might accidentally make a power mode, but I don't go on my way to look up like power builds or anything like that. If I
right.
ever make a power
They
thing, is I accidentally made it.
Yeah, the like you see I'm like, oh, how to do like, 10,000 damage at level 1 with a cantrip. It's like, what?
No,
Why?
I've watched a lot of those videos. And I'm just like, okay, I understand. There's people that they want to do that. I'm just like, and it's entertaining to talk about these things like those kind of
Yeah.
YouTubers and whatnot.
Yep.
The most famous one I know is D&D Shorts. He has
Yep.
almost a million subs, but like it's entertaining. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm never gonna do this.
Right.
One of my the sorcerer that I just got done retiring, he almost got into the fireball build after the fact, like the optimized fireball build, and it's so simple to me. I was just like, there it is, everything that I need. I was like one level away from the optimized fireball build. I'm like,
Gotcha.
eh, I stumbled on it, or that's the natural way of coming across it. All right, Lost. Let's see. Our other thing we were talking about is all the different types of, I guess I want to say D&D tables, but that ain't the right term. Is
How to play?
ways to play, and what we mean by this, everybody watching at home, is there's three ways to play that we have come up with. There's the virtual table. Do you think four? Okay, well, give me a second. Okay, we have the virtual table where you playing virtually across the world and everything else. You can play through just listening, or you can play the virtual tabletop. Then there's at your actual table, so you can play at your home or at a game store. And then the third one that we don't have a whole lot of experience with, in my opinion, is LARPing, and I've done it a few times. Lost, you said you have not, correct? And
No.
then what do you think
Closest
is
thing to LARPing I've ever done is go to a Ren Fair and dress up.
yeah, it's kind of LARPy, I guess, yeah. And what do you think is the fourth type?
Well, how you described it, I would agree with 3. I was going to say a hybrid between virtual and at a table.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm like there's that. I've actually witnessed actual plays that are that way where they have a virtual table, but they're around the table, and
Yep.
like that's really cool. Yeah, there is a hybrid or a cross between
Yeah.
that. If I had money and you guys were all back, that would be the way to play.
It's not even money. It's super cheap. That's how I do it. Well, that's how my preferred way to do it. That's how I
Preferred.
was doing it for a while. Yep.
All right, so um, I'm gonna start this off with the virtual table. Lost, you have way more experience than I do. Majority, I'll say 95 to 99% of my experience has been at an actual table. What is your experiences with a virtual table?
So I think virtual tables are great. I will say there are. I'm gonna go with 3, 4. There. Well, we'll just count them out here. So you have Fantasy Grounds is one of the big ones. You have Roll20, which is another big one. You have Foundry, which is a relatively new one, but is taken off. And then you have like Play by Post, I guess would be another way.
Oh, I didn't even think of
Um,
that. Yep,
which would be
that's old
another way.
school.
Right. Well, yeah, that it's still going on. But that would be another way I would say that's additional because it's not really virtual because it's
Right.
play by post. It's you. So
Yeah, like that's old school virtual table. Like,
I feel like I'm missing one of the other big virtual ones, but those the three, right? So Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, and Foundry are your three big major virtual tabletops. Um, So I think they're great, right? They allow you to connect with your friends over long distance, have your character sheets, maps, minis, everything like that. So I think virtual tabletops are great.
here, the internet just froze on your end there. No, well, that's how you like that.
Oh,
All the audio came through, so we're good there for
that's
all
good.
you
That's good.
listeners on the podcast.
But yeah, so I like virtual. But you do lose the face to face.
Yeah, I'm like, there's something so special about the face to face
Yep.
that I don't know. I personally have a hard time with virtual tabletop for that reason. Is uh yeah, I'm like that is my favorite thing is the face to face. I get hang out with my buddies.
Yep.
So that is the ultimate withdrawal or downside of virtual because
Yeah.
other than that virtual you can like you said you can make maps on the fly real easy. I know I can't because I'm just something's I can't do it. But you can make maps on the fly real fast. You have access to your books real fast. You can customize way your character looks, so nobody can screw up something. You like, my mini looks like this, or this is my picture,
Yep.
and all that stuff. So virtual has a lot of benefits.
Yep. Plus, as a DM, you don't have to worry necessarily half the time about like damage reductions and immunities because it's built in. So they might attack that character, and you totally forgot it was immune to X thing, and then like it'll auto calculate and say 0 damage because it's immune to this, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot about that. They would have
Whoopsie.
done damage. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't realize that thing was immune to fire. That optimized power game is about to not have fun with this guy.
Uh huh. Oh yeah, I feel bad for that one. Let's see. Loss of your career. How much have you been gaming at an actual table, not a virtual table?
So
You think it's
honestly,
starting to get to 50-50 or different?
no, it's still way higher because I do a lot of hybrid, right? So when you say I have a lot more experience virtual tabletop, so I do for using the program because I used it as a DM at my tables, right? But I've only done one short campaign besides the two that I'm currently running virtually.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh, so you've
Everything else
done
has
the
been at a
hybrid
table.
way more.
Oh yeah, hybrid is
Oh,
where I prefer hybrid.
Okay, all right.
because it's the best of both.
Yeah, like you literally have all the benefits. Huh. All right. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. One of these days, I would love to do the hybrid, if you would. But
Yeah.
until then, I love face to face, old school, just right on a map. My books at my side.
Yep.
I don't use apps a lot. I don't know if I um. Or do you use apps on your phone a lot, or do you?
No.
I find it as a DM, if I need to scroll to find a creature real fast, I'll use my phone like oh shizers, I need something. Like they went the wrong way, and now I need to make an encounter off the fly. That's normally where
Right.
I pull that up. But other than that, I have my books
Right.
and
So for me, because I do hybrid, it's already all right there. So it's like, oh, I need to make an encounter. Let me click creatures. It's all by that. I can just drag and drop, made, done, move on. So it helps speed everything up.
move on.
Like, and like you said, when it's hybrid, because what I have a setup where I have a umbrella base, right? Like one of the outside umbrella bases because they're heavy. PVC pipe that goes up, and then a projector mount that I mounted to it. It shoots out, and then a projector that projects down onto the table.
Projector. Okay. The drunken has done that in the past over say Discord, but or like a
Yep.
Discord equivalent years ago, and unfortunately, we had to do that all virtual, and we had no way. We didn't have anything fancy, and we had to move our. We had to tell them move our character 15 feet
Oh yeah.
north, and then to the right. Like that was the only way we could play, and
Yep.
we did that a few games, and after a while, it's just like from the DM's point of view, there's almost like a permanent table that needs to be set up somewhere with the things, and
Yeah.
dogs will run into it or kids and stuff. Life happens, and you have to reset
Yep.
it up, and it got to the point they just couldn't do it no more. Um, and then let's see. Then there's LARP, the weird. I'm sorry. It is weird. It is the weird. Um, uh, I don't know, offshoot of all these things. I have done a very little bit of LARPing, but I have done it, and to the point we did. If I remember correctly, our LARPs to do a roll of some sort, like you're rolling, is rock paper scissors, and that's you make it, or you don't, or you tie, and the game master might say something about the tie. I don't, or it's best 2 out of 3 kind of thing. But I felt like I'm just playing rock paper scissors and role playing out in the random like park, and I was like, this isn't exactly for me. I understand for a lot of players out there that is awesome for them, and I've seen
Yep.
that at cons. I'm like, when they're at cons, when like that is the world they're meant to be in, it looks amazing. I'm like, I would love to play that with you guys at a con. I will. I don't want to where the general public sees me in a weird ass thing going rock paper scissors.
Right.
I'm like, ah,
When we talk about LARP, shotgun question for you: best LARP movie.
LARP movie. Oh, I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's a It came out. It has the dwarf from Peter
Knights
Dinklage.
of Badassdom.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yep.
That was so good. I was like, this is amazing.
Yep.
Guys, if you have never seen that, find it. Find it right now. It is it.
Yep.
That is such a good movie. I actually saw a trailer for that the other day. I was just like,
Oh, nice.
oh, I need to watch this again. Peter Dinklage.
It was
is
funny.
in there, and
I
so
remember
good.
when that was first coming out, and it has River, I forget her name, but she was on like Firefly and stuff like that.
Yep.
And like I seen that, and like I remember like I watched it, I was like, oh, that's a good actor, that's a good actress, this is gonna be awesome or really bad, or horribly awesome.
And I don't know.
And it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, I'm like, it was just good. It was,
Yeah.
it was almost to the skip to the thing where it's so horribly awesome, but it was just good Highly
It's a
recommend.
good movie.
Big Motor
Yes.
Gaming highly recommends this.
Yep.
Another good just movie in general is the original Gamers from
Hmm.
back in the day, but
Yep.
almost everybody
You
that I
have
know.
to be you have to be a gamer to appreciate that movie.
That is true. I have showed
And
my
I noticed
cousin that
it,
movie
it's
who was not a gamer, and he's like, I don't
yep,
like this. I'm like, God.
yep. I chose my words very carefully on that, right? Notice I said appreciate the movie, not like the movie,
Yeah, that's true.
right? It is not a good movie.
No.
It is a movie that you will appreciate and you will like it.
There's a
You know,
memorable
you'll have
quote.
fun watching it. If you can relate to all the things that happen in that movie. If you are not a gamer, do not watch The Gamers or its sequel, The Gamers 2 Darkness Rising.
I did not care for that one. I was trying to watch it because they
Yeah.
made that one actual like actual story to it. I was like, this is not my cup of tea. But that's the only one that's they seem to have like for sale everywhere. I don't know how you even find the original Gamers. That was actually a college project of some
In my
sort.
movies in my movies discs.
You
Yes,
have
I have it.
right? Like
Yeah,
I
I
think
own it.
I had a. Did I have a VHS copy of that or an actual?
I don't think
DVD?
so. It would have been DVD because you would have got it around the same time I did.
Yeah, I'm like I bought mine at Gen Con and I actually met the actors of Gamers there.
Yep. I actually have shopped at the store that's in the movie because that was in Tacoma, Washington.
Oh,
So I've met a couple of them as well.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like they're based out of Washington. They're a film school of some sort, and I watched
Yep.
some of their other movies, which I also thought were really funny and um um good college
They're no
humor.
budget movies.
Yeah, no
They're
budget.
no budget movies.
Yeah. A couple of friends got together, and this was before YouTube, and made a D&D like game movie. And
Yeah. And before like special effects were a big like commodity that everybody can get.
yeah.
So just if you haven't seen it, I recommend if you're a gamer, right? If you're watching this podcast, you'd probably enjoy it. Or if you're watching this video or listening to the podcast, you'd probably enjoy watching it. But it's not gonna be one of those you're like, oh yeah, I want to go watch this again. It's
Right.
like you'll watch it and you'll be like, oh, that was funny. You might watch it again here and there, but you know, it's not a
like the only time I bring it back out, or used to bring it back out, is because I just met another new gamer who never watched it. I'm like, well, we gotta
Yep.
watch this.
Yep. That's pretty much what I do as well.
All right, with that, I think we're gonna be signing off for the evening. Luckily, your internet stayed together. My internet stayed together.
It did.
That's amazing. All right, Big Moto Crew. Hopefully, you guys like this video. Subscribe. If you think of anybody that should be watching our kind of content or likes Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Vampire the Masquerade, Savage Worlds, or Rifts, we've talked about Rifts.
Any other RPG?
Any RPG. Or if you have any suggestions for us for RPGs that we should play, let us know. And then let other people know that we exist. We are getting so close to 500 subs, guys. We are so close to 500. It's amazing. All right, guys. Big Moto's going to be signing off. I'll give you guys a salute. And Lost, anything you have to say?
Have a great night.
Yeah, have a great night. All right, Big Moto's out, guys. Bye.